Hi everyone, I'm Kate O'Donnell, a 6th grade teacher at a private Christian school, and I'm so excited to be part of this conversation about supporting English learners, or ELs. In this video, we'll talk about how we as educators can embrace and celebrate the unique assets that EL students bring into our classroom. We'll also discuss practical strategies for strengthening home-school connections, because when families and teachers work together, student success follows. Culture impacts everything, from how students communicate to how they engage with lessons. Some students may come from backgrounds where collaboration is highly valued, while others are used to working independently. If we recognize these differences, we can create a learning environment where EL students feel seen, valued, and understood. Cultural competence means being intentional about learning and respecting our students' diverse backgrounds. It's about going beyond acknowledging differences and actually integrating students' experiences into the learning process. A simple example, if a student speaks another language at home, I encourage them to share words or traditions about their culture. This not only builds confidence, but also helps the entire class develop a global perspective. One way I integrate cultural values into my teaching is through projects like Christmas traditions around the world. Students research a country's Christmas traditions, present their findings, and even bring in food to share. Activities like this help ELs feel proud about their heritage while expanding everyone's understanding of different cultures. A welcoming and culturally inclusive classroom sets the stage for successful language development. Small things like greeting students in their home language, or displaying multilingual signs, or incorporating diverse literature can make a huge difference. A student feels comfortable when they're more likely to take risks with language, which is key to developing fluency. Some key strategies include storytelling, where you can invite students to share personal or family stories as part of a literacy lesson, incorporating this into writing prompts, journal reflections, or even short presentations where students can share about their traditions, heritage, or experience. Visual representation, using multilingual labels, maps, or cultural artifacts around the classroom to create an inclusive and welcoming environment. Displaying students' works that reflect diverse perspectives on celebrating cultural holidays from around the world. Collaborative learning. Group projects encourage EL students to contribute knowledge from their own experiences. For example, the Christmas traditions from around the world. Students research a country's holidays, like I was saying before, and they create a presentation. They bring in their food to share. The challenge kits. I use challenge kits in my classroom to help students develop advocacy skills. Kindness, generosity, growth mindset. These kits provide opportunities for students to reflect their identity. It shares their cultural experiences, explores topics with empathy and inclusion. They're all guided activities. Another one that we use is class discussions and peer teaching. I encourage structured discussions where students can share their perspective on history, literature, and science through a cultural lens, fostering critical thinking and appreciation for diversity. It also integrates peer teaching. I also integrate peer teaching, where students explain concepts to one another. They help ELs learn from classmates in an interactive way. Digital tools can be used, such as Google Classroom for multilingual communication and assignments, Kahoots and Nearpod for interactive learning, IXL for individual practice. These tools provide a diverse learning opportunity that supports all students, including ELs, in an engaging way with content that's in a meaningful way. Hands-on activities. Whenever possible, I love to incorporate hands-on activities. This includes science experiments, art projects, role-playing activities. This all allows these students to bring in their cultural perspective. One example would be at my Ancient Egypt project, where students research and create 3D models on their findings. I'll be doing that with our upcoming Greece project, where they are able to make another 3D model or do a philosophy speech from ancient Greek times. In using home language as a strength, allowing students to brainstorm or draft in their first language before translating it to English can help deepen their thinking. Also encouraging families to share books, music, and traditional stories from their home language. It reinforces their literacy skills that can transfer to English learning. So supporting the needs in the classroom. Every EL student is different. Some arrive with strong academic skills in their home language, while others are just beginning their literacy journey. Differentiation is key. In my classroom, I use small group instructions, interactive tools like Kahoots, visual aids to support learning. For ELs with special needs, breaking tasks into manageable steps, using hands-on activities, and incorporating multisensory learning make content more accessible. So that social emotional needs need to be met right away. Adjusting to a new school, language, and culture can be overwhelming. That's why building relationships with ELs is essential. Being able to pronounce their names correctly, it shows a sign of respect and it builds trust. Pairing them with classmates who are buddies, who can help them adjust socially and academically. Choosing the sweet kids that you know want to help others, and sometimes put their, other people's needs before their own. Encouraging self-advocacy by teaching them simple phrases to ask for help or clarification. This is going to really set them up for that success and being able to open up socially and emotionally. Cultural differences influence how students respond to school expectations. For example, in some cultures, direct eye contact with a teacher is considered disrespectful, while in others, it's a sign of engagement. Being aware of these cultural norms helps us avoid misinterpretation behaviors and fosters a supportive learning environment. So that home and school connection. EL families bring incredible knowledge and experiences that can enrich our classroom. A student's home language, family traditions, and life experiences are valuable assets that can shape their academic success. When we acknowledge and incorporate these into learning, we help students bridge the gap between home and school. To help strengthen homeschool partnerships, I focus on three key areas. Consistent communication. I use Google Classroom, weekly newsletters, and when needed, a translation app to ensure that families stay informed. Inclusive events. Hosting school events or inviting families to share cultural traditions creates a sense of belonging. Seeking out families. I've done this in the past, but rather than waiting for families to come to you, go to where they are. Find out if there are times families are already coming to school, like before or after. I've done that before. I've mentioned this a few times in this class. With Camila's family, she didn't want to have a parent-teacher conference with me. So instead of just letting that one slide, I wanted to tell Camila's mom how good she was doing. So I went to one of our football games where Camila was cheering at, and I found her. And I wasn't necessarily able to communicate wonderfully with her, but I did happen to have a bilingual friend who was also one of my students' parents. And I was just at least able to say, here's her report card. She's doing amazing. You should be proud of her. Just these upbeat, positive things. Nothing too personal, but just an upbeat eye contact, communication, appreciation for her daughter. And I think that went a long way. I continue to get these great smiles and letters, and she's always made it important to come into the classroom when she's invited. And I mean, I'm always open. My doors are always open. But for that tradition of Christmas when we had Mexico, she brought in so much stuff. She brought in piñatas and these little gelatins and just everything that was Christmas tradition related from Mexico. She brought it in. And I think it's about making those connections, and it's about making Camila feel welcome and her mom feel welcome at any time in our classroom. So practices that celebrate home language. Encouraging families to read to their children in their native language is one of the best ways to build literacy skills. I also suggest practicing strategies like labeling house objects in both English and their home language to help with vocabulary development. Partnering with local cultural organizations, community centers, and for us, the church, can provide additional support for ELs. For example, collaborating with a community church for after-school tutoring helps reinforce academic skills while also providing a safe space for students to connect with their cultural roots. In conclusion, supporting ELs and strengthening homeschool connections requires intentional effort, but the impact is life-changing. When we celebrate diversity, honor students' cultural backgrounds, and build meaningful partnerships with families, we create a learning environment where every student feels valued and empowered. Thank you.